Hey everybody, it's long-haired Larry, aka DJ Fugitive, right here, live, and actually you are on across the street.
I'm here today with Larry. Larry, what's your DJ name, or like how do you want to be presented?
Some people know me as long-haired Larry, then I cut off all the locks, and I became DJ Fugitive. Long story how I got that name.
How'd you get that name?
Well, I got off work one day, and I had a 20-year-old $50 warrant out of Clark County, and got pulled over and went to jail. The boss had to bail me out, and it just kind of like became DJ Fugitive ever since. It's pretty funny. And it turns out it's one hell of a cool name.
The reason for today's interview is he has an interesting perspective here on the nightlife culture in the adult industry. How do you reference what you do as a title?
What I do now,
Yeah.
when people ask what do I do, it always happens whenever I go to like a grocery store and pay with ones. What do you do for a living? I manage a strip club.
And you spent most of the years leading to this point as a strip club DJ.
Yeah, 22 years.
22 years. Some of the success stories you said about girls that have become dancers and used this as a catapult to actually do something else bigger in their life.
Yeah, it's kind of few and far between, but it's pretty motivating. Like when I first started DJing, I've probably been in it for about 7-8 years or whatever, and then I had my first daughter. I've always been a single dad, and that's one thing that's really led this industry for me to be so successful, because while my kids are sleeping, I'm working. But I was like, no way, my daughter's never gonna be a stripper, but I've worked with enough professional women throughout my career that I've changed my perspective on that a lot. I feel more comfortable with saying, I'd rather see my daughter strip than struggle. So if she modeled herself after some of these girls that I've worked with, that I've got to know as people, then I'm all for it. It's not all bad. It's not all drugs. It's not all, tricks and bullshit. It's actually, it's a legitimate way to make a good living on taking up a minimal amount of your time.
I am in about month number 5 of this job part-time, and you've done this for a super long time. Number one, I'd like to thank you for all the tips and tricks that I've gotten from you over the past 6 months. One of the better questions I had is, what makes a good DJ and what makes a shitty DJ?
Keep it simple. A good DJ is going to read their crowd and motivate their crowd. A shitty DJ is going to be up there cocky all about himself and just, I've seen him come and I've seen him go, and mostly they don't last. You don't see DJs in this industry for 20 years. Because it becomes like a lifestyle. Some of them jump in that lifestyle feet first. They're burnt out in a couple of years at most. And then it becomes more about feeding their own needs instead of actually doing a good job. There's a thing called integrity. And that's one thing that a strip club DJ, there's few and far between of those that actually even know the meaning of that word.
Have you had a time when you were doing this where you kind of faced that burnout moment where you were close to like?
I have. It's a lot of the times when you take good days with the bad days, and sometimes the bad days just seem to be piling up on each other, and you get frustrations like you would with anything else. But the main thing is to power through it and do your job. When I first started DJing, I was a heavy equipment operator union before I started doing this. So I didn't need the money necessarily, but after 9/11, that's when I started DJing. Because they pushed all the construction job back. And the old owner of the first club that I worked at was Exotica, and his name was Marty. And he goes, Larry, what'd you do before this? And I told him, he goes, what in the hell are you doing here? I said, Marty, you tell me every day what a good job I'm doing. Okay, that goes a long ways with me. A union job, you work out of the hall. When the job's finished, they don't care who you are. They just send you back to the hall, and they call more people for the next job. So it's kind of like a good work ethic is really important, and it's actually lacking in this industry. Like, people will be like, oh, Gus, the owner's here. Gus, the owner's here. I'm like, so what? Why don't you work the same as if he's here as if when he's not here?
Yeah.
What's the big, and that's one of the reasons why they loved me, was because I was just an employee who's there to do my job.
That's back to that word integrity that you just used.
Exactly. Goes a long way. Somebody pays me to do a job, I'm gonna do it to my best ability. And if there's things that I don't know, well, if I like the job, I'm definitely gonna do my best to learn them.
One of the key traits to the job, of course, reading your crowd is number one, and then you somehow made the advancement through all the years of being involved in this, where you became the head security guard / manager / doorman. How did you slide into these positions?
It was easy for me because I was, it's that word integrity and do your job and know your job. And when you know your job, then you get to know everybody else's job because the ones who aren't doing it really start to stand out. And when you work as a team, you tend to cover each other's backs. So it just becomes a natural way of, how you do your job and how you keep the club going.
One of my favorite parts about having started working here and being into this a little bit is the unique family culture that's actually here, believe it or not. I believe it was right before Thanksgiving. There was a moment when the club was silent, and I took this as a great moment. I believe all of us were on our phones with our family 10 minutes before we started the show. So it was just a simple reminder to me that we may work in the adult industry, but we are all human.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this one, your dancers got different personas and stuff like that, and I'm big on that. Like, Cherry will be like, I can't dance to rock music. I was like, you may not be able to. And then I'll call her by her stage name, and I'll be like, but Jess can.
Ooh.
Or your birthday might be in January, but Jess's birthday's today. Don't take your persona home with you. It's all fantasy. It's not. That's what all this is. Nothing in the strip club is supposed to be real. It's all fantasy. So do the best that you can with it, and you got to make that persona come to life. You can't take it home with you. Like I would tell girls back in the day, get 2 phones. Everybody you sell lap dance to, take down their number. And then when you go home, shut that thing off. Have nothing to do with it. And then when you go to work, hey, I'm bored today, come see me, or I'm just hanging out with you. Just make every customer that these guys get a girlfriend for 6 minutes if they get 2 songs. You know what I mean? And that's pretty much, you treat them that way, But so many run with it the other direction, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the fantasy it becomes almost criminal, man.
I've heard of the proverbial shit show, we call it, I guess, in the industry here, and I got to witness my first small portion of one the other night, and you guys are amazing people for continuing to be able to do this for years and years and years. I think I got a small dose, too.
Right. Well, my lucky thing, when I fell into this, I was freshly divorced. And I kind of working days and mornings and all daylight and stuff. That's cool and all, but God, it really sucks like halfway through your day, especially if you're on a Monday or a Tuesday. I went from being the last guy to show up on the job site and wanting to be the first one to leave to being the first one to arrive to work and the last one to leave. I have never just stuck with one shift. When I first started Exotica, I'd started DJing day shift and watching the door at night. I didn't want to leave. Well, I just went through a divorce. I had an empty home at that time. And it took me a little while. I actually raised 6 kids all by myself. And this has allowed me to give them a lifestyle where they don't realize that there's anything, there's not really any struggle. I take good care of them. My oldest is 31, my youngest is 4. And, I kind of jinxed myself with there because I always thought, I'd always be happy as long as there was a kid in the home. I never thought about grandkids, but now I'm getting a taste of that, so that's pretty fun. Not that it has anything to do with this lifestyle, it just has a little bit to do with more like, it's a business, and I would much rather come to work clean and go home clean with minimal stress and not think about work when I go home, than it is, being out in the weather. This is Washington and Oregon, man. Outside sucks.
Yeah, it's cold outside today. Yeah.
So this whole lifestyle has become like a positive thing for me, which I've embraced wholeheartedly, and I always will.
Well, in the last couple minutes in closing here, then, if you could do like one thing over again, maybe earlier in life would you have started doing this? Maybe later in life would you have started doing this? And give us a reason why either one of those would be an answer.
I don't know. I think I jumped in it for me right when it was perfect. Because if you got a wife at home, you see some of the guys in this industry that have that. Even when I've had girlfriends at home, it's if you don't date somebody that's in this industry that they have no clue, they think always the worst. Like all your friends think that you're banging all the strippers, but you know, you're not. It's a job just like anything else. But I think for a family man with a wife at home and small children, it takes up a lot of your time, but it creates an unnecessary insecurity probably with your spouse. But then again, I've seen people who have been in this industry, married people in this industry, where it creates no problem. So it's just like anything else, I guess, just like understanding, whatever, take it for what it is. So you'll have your pros and cons. But if I could do anything different, the one thing that I would do, invest my money. Because I always made jokes before. It's like, we may not get insurance, but then we get other benefits. Ha, 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 ha. Well, there's not really much of a retirement fund here, but there's plenty of extra money to where you can create your own portfolio, and bam, bam. I just wish I would have started doing it earlier. I wish I would have had a mentor get me into this business instead of me falling into it, if that makes sense.
You're making me feel bad about my job choice right now, Larry. Well, thank you so much for joining our program. Appreciate you giving us a little bit of insight there. I feel like I can come back and do this again some other time too.
Anytime you want. I'm always right here. It's good to have you aboard, Jim.
We appreciate you so much. Thank you
Absolutely,
for the opportunity.
buddy.
Appreciate you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Baby, you